Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on this segment of the program today is Mr. Jay Pratte. He is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. Jay, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Jay, for asking. And thanks for making time for us as always. It's good to have you on the program. And I feel like, Jay, every time you come on here, something big is going on for the zoo. It's AZA. It's this event. It's that process. It's this animal coming. It's that project. Another big weekend for the Miller Park Zoo, Jay. What's going on, my friend?
You know, I don't think it would be the zoo or a zoo if there wasn't something good that was happening or big coming up. But no, this weekend we're super excited. It's our ZooDoo event. That's the annual Big Zoo fundraiser put on by the Miller Park Zoological Society. And that's this Saturday here at the zoo and over combination of the zoo and the pavilion at 5 p.m. And they always have a bunch of, fun events. There's always going to be an auction. There's actually going to be a really cool professional magician. A lot of our society members really are excited about coming to talk to folks. There's always, of course, the bars and the music around. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this year, the focus for our project of greatest need is going to be working on restoring our carousel, because that's a really, it's been so popular with people, with the community, and it's just showing its age. And we want to make sure that we are representative of a modern zoo, so we want to ensure that it's safe, it's beautiful, and that's what they're really going to work on to make sure that stays an iconic part of the Miller Park Zoo.
Sure. Not to put the cart before the horse a little bit here, Jay, but just curious, will you make all the money you need to do that this weekend?
I probably not all at once, but who knows? Hey, if we can get people to come out and support the event and work at the auction, you never know. I think we've got some estimates on what that'll be, but the society is working with a couple of professional groups that actually have done carousel restoration to help us understand what those costs will be. So if not, I know that they have also had a number of private donors step forward, excited to contribute to this project, because it's been here over 20 years. Like, people have taken their kids on this. They've been on it over the course of the last couple decades. So it's really generated a lot of excitement within our community and our donors.
Gotcha. Very good. Jay, what is ZooDoo like? What's the event? The evening like?
So I can't tell you. I started.
That's a fair point,
year.
isn't it?
I am here 1 year next week, and I actually started the week after the ZooDoo event. However, I have talked to keepers. I have talked to people and, other board members that have attended it. And it is apparently it's just a night of great fun. It's not super formal. It's very casual. There's, food, drinks, there's auctions. It's just a really good time. And it's going to start off in the zoo and then head over to the pavilion for more of the event related stuff. If our brew at the zoo is any indication, it was a great time and people really enjoyed themselves. I'm hoping this one's going to be just as much fun.
Very good. So put that on the calendar. That is this weekend. Again, Jay, the when and where on that?
And again, that's going to be here at the zoo. It's Saturday. It's at 5 p.m. The combination of the zoo and over at the pavilion. And tickets are available. You can go find them on Facebook or through Miller Park Zoological Society's website. I think so that's tickets are available a number of places still.
Forgive me, I was going to ask, have you gotten a good response to this so far? Like, are folks interested?
Yes, I believe so. We've actually had several sponsor tables, some corporate tables, and a pretty good incoming. I didn't get to talk to them. They're so busy into the last minute logistics and planning. I didn't get the final numbers, but they were very positive about how attendance is looking so far.
Good stuff. Very good. So ZooDoo is this weekend. Put it on the radar. Be a part of that if you can. Jay, let's move along this morning. And again, more good things to talk about. I know you just got back from the AZA conference. I believe you told me Columbus, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
Yeah, sure. So how about the AZA conference, Jay? Tell me about that.
Oh, that was crazy. COVID really kind of hammered everybody's ability to get together. And these conferences, it's not just everybody coming together and meeting and chatting. It's where all of the animal planning meetings happen for all of the coordinations of breeding programs, conservation efforts, But it's not just related to animals, it's everything. It's education, it's leadership, administration, marketing. And so there were 2,787 registrants, which was a record for the AZA. It was huge. And so it was a packed week of just, choosing all the different sessions that we wanted to attach, meetings. It was my first year for both the directors meeting and the directors dinner in the evening at the zoo. So it was a nonstop bunch of time for us.
So when it comes to the AZA conference, Jay, I know that it's, like you said, it's nonstop. There's a lot of things to do. You had the visit back in, what was that, August, I think, maybe July. I can't remember now.
End of July.
End of July,
yep.
Sure. So you got some feedback out of that visit, and so talk a little bit about what you are doing between that visit and then your visit to the conference in front of the AZA committee and their board and everything. Talk a little bit about what you're doing in between those two things.
So after we had the inspection, the end of July, they left us with a list of concerns and, or items. There was also a list of things that they recognized were doing very, very well. And so we took those concerns and we had up until about 2-3 days before the hearing to create a letter of response where we immediately started working on the various things. Some were really like minor little ones. There were a couple of other ones that were bigger projects. So we still have, for example, some perimeter fence repairs we're working on. One of the roofs, some of the shingles we're starting to, curl on that. And so we've already got contractors that we're working with to get a couple of those things repaired. And then when we went and we presented ourselves to the commission at the beginning of the conference, then we got a little bit more feedback. We are still accredited. We do have some provisions, things we have to work on. And our biggest one, of course, is going to be we need to do some work with the Katofer Animal Building, which we already knew. It's an older building. It's a historic building. We are going to need to be able to modernize some of the things for keeper and animal welfare and safety and just improve it and bring it up to, more current and modern standards. So we have some plans for that. AZA and their input basically helps guide us and say, we're glad you're doing all this work. You clearly have got everything together. We recognize that you are new leaders. And here are some things we really need you to focus on to ensure that you can maintain accreditation status. And so that's what that was all about.
Yeah. Now, Jay, I've heard that this, and I don't know if you know your colleague down here in Decatur very well, Ken Fry. He's told us about this, and Ken, he kind of jokes about it. He says, you're in this conference room around a big table with a lot of people, and most of them have laptops in front of them, and they're typing away as you're talking, and maybe they, the eyes lift from just above that computer screen to glare at you for a few seconds, and then it's back to typing. What was your experience like with that?
Exactly that. He described it very well. We walked in and we were actually really lucky. We had two folks from the city actually join us. We had Eric Veal, the director of the Park and Recreation Department, and then the assistant director, Mose Ricky, join us, not only to show our support or their support for the zoo and the process, but to also be there to learn more about it. And we went in and it's exactly like Ken said, there's a great big giant rectangular table. There's like 18 people sitting around it. They are all experts in our field, directors at different institutions, veterinarians, executive leadership of AZA, and they've got, their laptops up. They're reviewing our materials that we've submitted as we're sitting there. They're pulling questions out. And we were in there and we answered questions for over an hour. So, I mean, it was polite and it was professional, but it was grueling and it's intense because this is really important to us. And here are all these, peers and colleagues from all over that are part of the commission that are just firing away at you one after the other. So it is definitely not an experience for the faint of heart. I will tell you what.
Are you ready for all those questions that are coming your way? I mean, are they throwing curveballs at you? Much like maybe a radio announcer you might know?
So, yes and no. I think there were a few that, generally you can anticipate from the concerns. We know the standards really well, but everybody in there is also a personality and that's had their experiences. They go through their own accreditations. And so their questions are like kind of measured and weighed, biased maybe a little bit by what they've experienced. And then they also have their own specialties. So some of them have a background in animal well-being and welfare. Some of them are veterinarians. Some of them have been administrators or educators for years. So they focus on different things. So if you know who the people are, a lot of times you might be able to anticipate what type of question they'll ask. We answered all of our questions really well. There were a couple that were a little rougher for us because, again, we've been here. Our leadership is all very new within the last year. But, we made it through. We did a great job. They were really happy with us. The city was really happy with how it all went. So we have a clear plan and that moving forward. But yeah, we'll get to do that next year. We do not have to fill out the whole application or anything again. A team will be coming out, a different team, to follow up next year and say, hey, how are you doing on those projects that we all talked about? And then we'll go and we'll talk to them again next year. And, hopefully all will be exactly what we needed.
So what is your highest priority coming out of this conference, Jay? What's top of mind for you that the zoo needs to address, get done? How about some of those things?
So, like I mentioned, some of them, like we had significant issues where the perimeter fence around the zoo had been overgrown with foliage, heavy duty for several years. And so when we removed all that, the forestry team was really great internally in the city helping us with that. That helped us see, okay, here's where there's some damage. The fence is leaning. So there's some fence replacement projects we've got. Couple of ones that are just upkeeping and maintenance, like roofs around the zoo, on a couple of the buildings that we need to have replaced and repaired. We already got a plan for that. And then I mentioned the big one is Katofer. We want to get that open. The inside has been closed due to COVID and because of the impact on the primates and the cats, but we want to improve the ventilation. We want to make sure that the keeper areas, which were built however many years ago and are still safe and solid, but they're not really easy to use. They're kind of dark in there. So we really want to find ways to improve that and work with some companies that can help us create some more modern barriers, some more modern systems for shifting the animals so that we can interact with them and train with them better. And then there's always going to be, it's a 125-year-old building. There's infrastructure. We've got to have the foundation checked. There's plumbing and electrical, but really making sure that we can try and bring the Katofer building up to meeting accreditation standards much better than it currently does is going to be our top priority.
Yeah. This is kind of not necessarily along the lines of what you're talking about here, Jay, but you're talking about buildings that are well aged and probably in need of, either major repair or perhaps just brought down and rebuilt. So how about that process from your perspective? Is that something you're thinking about at this point, or is that too far down the road to even try to address at this point, if that makes sense?
No, because it's a part of the bigger picture. I mean, I'm glad you asked because so currently, like Miller Park Zoo, we still have a master plan, but it's 13 years old. It was based on all previous leadership, both directors and curators, working with previous city managers. And so it's our responsibility to update that. That's actually our plan for the next year, is to work with some professionals and some consultants to help us with that. And then they'll come in and they'll help us assess, okay, what do you have? What is your animal collection? Do you want it to be in looking like? And here's where we think we should prioritize, these pieces.
Sure.
So it may be like where South America was, where all those old wood wire habitats were leveled and we built a brand new structure. And it may be like what other zoos, like for example, Lincoln Park did with their historic building, and find ways to modify and add on to it to create a really great exhibit or guest experience without having to damage or destroy like a 125-year-old building.
Right. Gotcha. Well, we look forward to hearing about that process. It's just like one thing gets added onto your plate after another here. It feels like, Jay.
I get one thing done and there's one more that's added on. It's like that little kind of chain. It's like a little Pez dispenser. You pop one out and there's still one more waiting.
Right. There you go. That's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it. Jay, where do folks go? We talked ZooDoo to start off. Where do folks go to learn about ZooDoo, all things Miller Park Zoo? How about that?
ZooDoo and all things Miller Park Zoo. For ZooDoo and almost all things Miller Park Zoo, you're going to go to our Facebook page, our social media. We do have Facebook and Instagram, both for Miller Park Zoo and the Miller Park Zoological Society. They will also have links there to the Miller Park Zoological Society's web page. We have some information on the city page as well for all of our events, upcoming things for fall. We've even got Christmas stuff in the calendar already on there, Seth. So that would be the place to go for all the information.
Well, find it all there. Very good, Jay. Let's take a time out here, my friend. Come back with some more. That is Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. My guest on the phone. We've got more with Jay coming your way on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW. I'm Len Casper, the voice of the White Sox Radio Network. Follow the Sox across central Illinois on the Big 1520 WHOW.
Sponsored by Baum Chevy Buick, Clinton Community YMCA, Covenant Animal Clinic, Jason France, your State Farm insurance agent, Midstate Eye, and Nan Krang with Remax Choice, the 217 home team, all in Clinton.
Enel North America is dedicated to creating long-term shared value for our host communities. Enel is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the WHOW WEZC McLean County Community Spotlight, featuring the important work of a different McLean County nonprofit organization each month.
Hi, I'm Cody Monkman, Network Director for the Neighborhood Care Center. Our new McLean County Care Center location is designed to support and inspire people to reach their God-given potential. Located at 112 North Buchanan in Hayworth, our new location will serve the communities and small towns in McLean County through our weekly service platforms. Stop by Wednesdays beginning August 30th at our new location.
Enel is a clean energy leader in North America and is working to electrify the economy and help build a net zero carbon future for Illinois. They're proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the WHOW WEZC McLean County Community Spotlight.
Covenant Animal Clinic is your hometown vet in Clinton. Hi, this is Dr. Sue Sturr. Covenant Animal Clinic is here to provide the best care for your pets in the most convenient way possible. Learn more online by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. And remember, a healthy pet is a happy pet.
For the latest in Central Illinois agricultural news, visit IllinoisFarmRadio.com. Get updated information on markets, weather, ag news, local interviews with NAFB farm broadcaster Jared White, and much, much more. All at IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show, Jay Pratte, is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. And Jay, let's dive into fun things at the zoo. I know ZooDoo is really fun. We started out with that this morning, but let's dive into new animals and things that folks can look forward to seeing here, hopefully somewhat soon. What's going on here?
So, I mean, over the last year, we've talked about, some of the kind of changes in our animal collection. People remember, we unfortunately a couple months back lost Chumu, our male DeBrazza's monkey. And as soon as that happened, our general curator, Pearl, was talking to AZA about finding a replacement. That animal was actually identified. There is a younger male in Houston who all the transactional paperwork is in place. We're just working on trying to coordinate that actual transport because of temperatures, in both areas. We do have a companion for Chili, our giant anteater coming in. He is coming from, I want to say, Knoxville or somewhere down that region. I don't remember that 100%. We have a male poodoo that we are potentially looking to have come in and join Puddles in the new South American exhibit. And then a brand new species for us at the zoo. He's a little guy, but he's going to be really cool. Chinese crocodile lizard.
What's a poodoo, Jay?
So the poodoo, those are the Chilean poodoo. They are actually the smallest species member of the deer family. So we have a little female here. Her name is Puddles. And she's actually a pretty bold little deer. She spends a lot of time out in her habitat. She likes to be in her water a lot. Little tiny deer, but they're really kind of a neat animal, especially when you watch her wander around and interacting with everything that's in her environment. So.
Interesting. The Chinese crocodile lizard. Tell me about what this will look like.
A little tiny. It's not tiny. Little lizard, big kind of blocky head, but it's got really heavy plating. So that's where it gets its name from. The crocodile lizard is because most lizards, are pebbly or smooth or scales. These guys have really big plates on their heads, on their backs, and down that is reminiscent of a crocodile, which is where it gets they get their name from.
I wish that was the first time I'd heard someone call a head big and blocky, but people call my head big and blocky all the time. So I guess I'm used to it by now.
Hey, I got French bulldogs at home. I'd have gone the French bulldog route.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. No, but so a lot of good things coming to the zoo, Jay, in terms of new animals and those sorts of things. Are any of these part of breeding programs that the zoo is involved in?
Well, the lizard, we'll just have the one to start with, but all of the other three are. So the DeBraz's monkey, the giant anteater, and the poodoo would all be valuable, like, for reproduction, of course. You can't just put two animals together and assume that it's going to work. We're going to hope for compatibility and that we can contribute to the program. But one of the things when I talked briefly at AZ about all these animal programs meeting, there's so much tracking of genetics and relatedness. And when they suggest animal moves like this are made, it's because they are probably the best pairing because they're furthest away related genetically. And then we just hope on top of that for compatibility. And so that we're looking at long-term population management with that. So we're going to cross our fingers. But yes, these would be great programs for us to be able to continue to work in.
Are any of these in the, kind of endangered or whatever the, kind of neighboring categories are for that?
I don't remember the status of DeBraz's monkeys or any of them offhand. Anybody that's curious with that, the best place to actually always go, and it's where I default to, because I can't remember the status of all of our animals, is the IUCN Red List. It's a website. It's actually used pretty heavily by zoos and organizations, even NGOs around the world. There's a lot of science and research that goes into it, and that will give you. You can type in any animal or species in there, and it will tell you what its current status is, show you some range maps, and what its status in the wild is. So.
Jay, I hate to do this to you. Got to let you go, my friend. Best place for folks to learn about all things Miller Park Zoo.
City website, Miller Park Zoo Facebook page and Instagram, Miller Park Zoological Society Facebook page, Instagram, website.
Very good, Jay. Always good to talk to you, sir. Appreciate you making time for us. Jay Pratte is the executive director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington.
But that's not in news. I'm Rich Thomason. Detroit car makers announced more layoffs. They blame on fallout from the